The apartment was quiet until Ethan Miller's phone crackled alive, a trembling voice whispering, "They know where you are." His chest tightened as static drowned the words. He sat upright, heart hammering. A sharp scream pierced the night air, echoing through the hallway beyond his door. Ethan whispered, "Hello, who's there?" But silence answered. He grabbed a flashlight and opened his door slowly. The hallway was empty, shadows stretching unnaturally across the peeling wallpaper. On the floor lay a small metallic object, its surface etched with symbols that twisted when his eyes traced them. He bent down, hesitating as the chill of the air wrapped around him. His fingers brushed the cold metal, and for a moment he swore it pulsed like a living thing. Ethan muttered, "What the hell is this?" A faint thud echoed from above. Then silence returned, heavy and suffocating. Ethan locked his door and set the strange object on the table. His hands trembled as he whispered, "It can't be real." The symbols seemed to shift when he wasn't looking, curling into patterns that felt alive. He poured a glass of water, but the glass slipped and shattered, startling him. His reflection in the shards caught his attention. For an instant, it wasn't him but another face, cold and unfamiliar. He blinked hard, only to see his own reflection return. His breathing grew ragged as he muttered, "I'm losing it." He wrapped the object in a cloth, shoving it inside a drawer. The silence was too heavy, broken only by the faint creak of the building settling. He turned off the light, unaware of faint glimmers of the symbols seeping through the fabric. Sleep eluded Ethan as the night dragged on. He tossed in bed, the shadows shifting unnaturally on the ceiling. A faint whisper stirred the air, his own voice repeating, "They know where you are." His body stiffened as cold air brushed across his skin. He sat up, eyes darting to the mirror across the room. For a fleeting moment, his reflection did not move with him. He whispered, "That's not possible." His pulse pounded as he reached for the mirror, only to find the glass icy cold. He pulled back, unsettled, clutching the blanket like a shield. The silence pressed down, and his mind raced with fear he could not name. By morning, Ethan tried convincing himself it was stress. He brewed coffee, hands unsteady, eyes red from sleeplessness. Rachel Carter knocked at the door, smiling faintly as she entered. "Row night?" she asked, her tone careful. Ethan forced a laugh. "You could say that." Rachel studied his face longer than necessary, her eyes narrowing at the sight of his trembling hand. She noticed the drawer slightly ajar, but said nothing. "You should rest, Ethan," she murmured. Her voice carried unease, as though she knew more than she admitted. He nodded, though his thoughts lingered on the hidden object pulsing softly in the dark. Later that day, Ethan sat by the window, staring at the city streets below. People walked briskly, unaware of his turmoil. He spotted a man across the street who looked exactly like him. Same hair, same build, same face. The man turned, locking eyes with Ethan, before vanishing into the crowd. Ethan whispered, "No, it can't be." His pulse raced as he stumbled back, knocking over a chair. The world spun as panic gripped him. He pressed his forehead to the cool glass, searching again, but the man was gone. The street below looked ordinary once more, yet Ethan felt the fragile edges of his life slipping away. Ethan sat at his desk, staring at his reflection in the black screen of his laptop. "I won't and how tall." His reflection blinked a fraction late, the delay so subtle it made his stomach churn. He whispered, "That's not me." He slammed the lid shut, heart racing. He stood and paced, glancing at the mirror across the room. The reflection smirked while his own lips stayed still. His chest tightened as the smirk faded, replaced with his usual tired face. Rachel knocked on the door, calling, "Ethan? Are you okay?" He forced his voice steady, answering, "I'm fine." The weight of the lie hung heavy, the reflection watching from behind the glass with an expression that was not his own. Rachel entered the apartment carrying coffee, her smile fading at the sight of Ethan's pale face. She said softly, "You haven't slept." Ethan muttered, "I saw him again." Rachel froze, then forced a nervous laugh. "Stress is playing tricks." Ethan leaned forward, whispering, "It wasn't me in the mirror." Her eyes darted to the closed drawer where the metallic object rested. She replied, "Stop obsessing, Ethan." He studied her, wondering why her voice trembled slightly when she spoke. Silence stretched between them, heavier than any words could be. Later, Ethan ventured outside for air. The streets buzzed with life, yet everything felt off-kilter. He glimpsed his double again in a shop window, standing across the street, watching silently. Panic surged as Ethan crossed quickly, but when he reached the spot, no one was there. His reflection lingered in the glass, wearing a grin he didn't feel. He muttered under his breath, "You're not real." Pedestrians glanced at him with unease, stepping aside. Ethan's pulse thundered as he stumbled back toward his building, convinced he was being followed. Back inside, Ethan stared at the mirror in the bathroom. His reflection tilted its head while he remained still. The gesture was mocking, deliberate. He whispered, "What do you want from me?" The reflection's lips moved, forming words without sound. Ethan slammed his fist against the sink, fear and anger colliding. His reflection straightened, face blank, perfectly mirroring him once more. Ethan backed away, trembling. The silence in the small room pressed against his chest like a physical weight. That evening, Ethan sat in the living room, with every mirror covered by sheets. Rachel sat across from him, arms crossed, her voice sharp. "You're scaring yourself." Ethan's eyes darted toward the covered mirrors, muttering, "He's real. I know what I saw." Rachel hesitated, her gaze flickering toward the drawer again. Ethan caught the glance, his stomach sinking. "You know something," he accused. Rachel's expression faltered before she whispered, "Some truths are dangerous." The words left Ethan hollow, colder than the night air creeping in through the cracks of the window. Ethan walked into a quiet cafe, searching for answers he couldn't find alone. He sat across from Dr. Marcus Hale, a psychologist with sharp eyes and an unsettling calm. Marcus leaned forward, saying, "Mirrors reveal what we deny." Ethan muttered, "It's not in my head. He moves differently." Marcus scribbled notes, his hand steady, his voice low. "Your reflection is only a shadow until it isn't." Ethan's pulse quickened, confusion twisting into dread. The cafe noise dimmed as if reality itself leaned closer, listening. Ethan whispered, "Then what am I seeing?" Marcus didn't answer, his gaze fixed on Ethan with knowing silence. Leaving the cafe, Ethan felt exposed under the city sky. He caught a glimpse of himself in the glass of a passing bus. This reflection didn't mimic, it grinned sharply, eyes glinting with malice. Ethan froze, muttering, "Not again." Passers-by brushed past him, unaware of his terror. The bus rolled away, but the grin lingered in his mind. He clutched his jacket tighter, scanning every reflective surface around him. Windows shimmered, car mirrors flashed, each daring him to look. His breath came ragged as he hurried down the street, haunted by the smile that didn't belong to him. That night, Rachel confronted Ethan in his apartment, her voice sharp. "You can't keep spiraling like this." Ethan snapped back, "You think I'm crazy, don't you?" She looked away, hesitation in her eyes. He pressed, "You've seen something too, haven't you?" Rachel bit her lip before whispering, "Mirrors don't lie, Ethan. They just show what we try to hide." Her words chilled him deeper than silence ever could. The air between them grew heavy, thick with unspoken truths. Ethan stepped closer, demanding, "What aren't you telling me?" Rachel's hands trembled, but she stayed quiet. Later, Ethan walked into the police station, desperation etched into his face. He spoke to Detective Laura Hayes, a stern woman who studied him carefully. "My reflection, it's alive," Ethan said, voice unsteady. Laura raised a brow, replying flatly, "That's not a crime." Ethan slammed his hands on her desk. "People have seen him. He's out there." Laura leaned back, folding her arms. "Sometimes the mind sees what it fears." Her gaze, though calm, carried a shadow of something unspoken. Ethan whispered, You don't believe me. She held his stare, her silence louder than denial. That evening, Ethan returned home drained. He poured a drink, staring blankly at the covered mirrors. A faint laugh echoed, low and distorted. He froze, whispering, "Who's there?" The fabric over one mirror rippled though no wind stirred. He pulled the cloth down, revealing his reflection, smiling with teeth bared. Ethan stumbled back, dropping the glass, shards scattering across the floor. The reflection whispered soundlessly, lips curling as if mocking him. Ethan shouted, "Stop it!" His reflection's grin widened, untouched by fear. For the first time, Ethan realized this was no hallucination. Ethan walked home late, the city drenched in rain. A shadow followed him through each reflection in windows and puddles. He turned a corner and froze. A man stepped into the light, identical to him, but sharper, colder. The stranger smirked and said, "You're living my life." Ethan's breath caught as he stammered, "Who are you?" The man tilted his head, replying, "Daniel Cross. But you already knew that." Ethan shook his head, panic twisting in his chest. Daniel smiled wider, voice calm yet venomous. "You're the copy, Ethan. Not me, want you?" Daniel circled Ethan like a predator, his footsteps slow and deliberate. "Everything you've built, every friend you've trusted belongs to me." Ethan's voice cracked. "That's insane." Daniel's smirk faltered into anger, eyes flashing with bitterness. "I was erased for you to exist," he hissed. Rain pattered against the walls, each drop echoing the tension between them. Ethan whispered, "Why now?" Daniel leaned close, his breath cold, and said, "Because you're weak. And weakness doesn't deserve a life." The next morning, Rachel confronted Ethan, her tone sharp. "You've seen him, haven't you?" Ethan froze, anger mixing with confusion. "You knew about him?" Rachel's eyes watered, but she didn't deny it. "Daniel came to me first," she confessed. Ethan's heart dropped. He whispered, "You lied to me." Rachel pleaded, "I wanted to protect you." He stepped back, betrayal cutting deeper than fear. "Or protect him?" Ethan asked. Rachel's silence was the only answer he needed. Ethan stormed out, rage boiling. He wandered into the old district, where crumbling buildings leaned over narrow streets. He heard footsteps echoing behind him. Turning sharply, he found Daniel again, leaning casually against a wall. "Rachel knows the truth," Daniel taunted. Ethan's fists clenched, fury overtaking fear. "Stay away from her," he growled. Daniel's smirk widened as he replied, "She's already chosen her side." The words hit Ethan like a blade, leaving him hollow. That night, Ethan sat alone, his world unraveling. He replayed every moment with Rachel, every glance that now seemed like a lie. He muttered, "I don't know who to trust anymore." The drawer creaked open by itself, the metallic object glowing faintly. He stared, paralyzed, as the symbols twisted into shapes resembling eyes. A whisper filled the room. Daniel's voice, "You were never real." Ethan's chest tightened, his breath shallow. He slammed the drawer shut, but the glow seeped through, illuminating the room with a haunting pulse. Ethan walked into his office the next morning, only to be met with uneasy stares. A coworker muttered, "Didn't we see you here last night?" His stomach dropped, knowing he hadn't been. He forced a smile and replied, "You must be mistaken." But whispers spread quickly, their eyes following him like he was an intruder. He glanced at his reflection in the darkened glass of the conference room. And there it was, Daniel smiling confidently, wearing his clothes. Ethan whispered under his breath, "He's taking my life." Ethan stormed outside during lunch, his pulse racing. He scanned the street, convinced Daniel was close. A man brushed past, muttering, "Watch it," but Ethan hardly noticed. His eyes caught a glimmer in a parked car window. Daniel's reflection leaned forward, smirking, while Ethan stood frozen. He shouted, "Show yourself," but the street carried on, indifferent. A mother pulled her child away, eyeing him nervously. Ethan's hands shook as he whispered, "I can't fight what isn't real." Yet deep down, He knew it was real. Too real. That evening, Ethan found Oliver Grant waiting outside his building. Oliver, an old acquaintance with a crooked smile, said, "You're not the first he's chosen." Ethan stared in disbelief, whispering, "You know about him?" Oliver nodded grimly. "Daniel's been around longer than you think." Ethan's fists tightened, desperate. "Then help me stop him." Oliver smirked faintly, replying, "I'll help when it benefits me." The words stung, but Ethan saw a flicker of truth in Oliver's eyes. He realized he wasn't entirely alone, but alliances like this came with a price. Inside the apartment, Oliver examined the metallic object on the table. He whispered, "This is his anchor." Ethan asked, "Anchor?" Oliver nodded. "Destroy it, and maybe you destroy him." Ethan stared at the glowing patterns, their shapes twisting like veins under skin. His hands hovered above it, trembling. "What if it destroys me too?" he asked. Oliver's smirk faded, his voice low. "Then maybe you were never meant to exist." Ethan's chest tightened, rage and fear colliding as he realized how fragile his reality had become. Later that night, Ethan sat alone, head in his hands. Outside the window, city lights flickered against the glass. Suddenly, Daniel's reflection appeared again, this time perfectly aligned with him. Daniel's lips moved in unison, but the words were different. "You're only a shadow." Ethan slammed his fist against the glass, shouting, "I'm real." The reflection laughed silently, then melted away, leaving Ethan staring at his own broken expression. He felt the world collapsing, his life unraveling piece by piece, stolen by a man who looked exactly like him. Ethan followed Oliver's cryptic directions to an abandoned warehouse at the city's edge. Inside, mirrors lined the walls, broken shards glinting in the pale moonlight. Daniel stood at the center, calm and collected, his voice echoing, "Welcome home." Ethan stepped forward, fists clenched. "This isn't your life." Daniel smirked. "On the contrary, it's mine. You've just been keeping it warm." Ethan's breath quickened, fear and fury colliding. The silence between the mirrors felt alive, reflections shifting unnaturally as if watching. Daniel circled Ethan slowly, his voice dripping venom. Every smile, every friend, every moment, stolen. Ethan spat back, "You're a lie." Daniel's laugh echoed, sharp and bitter. "You think Rachel ever chose you? She chose me first." Ethan froze, the words cutting deeper than he wanted to admit. Rage burned in his chest as he shouted, "You don't own me!" The mirrors rattled as though reacting to the tension, glass humming under invisible pressure. Ethan lunged, grabbing Daniel by the collar, their faces inches apart. Daniel smirked, whispering, "You feel real because of me." Ethan snarled, "I'll end this." Their struggle sent shards of broken glass crashing to the floor, reflections splintering in chaotic fragments. Ethan's fist connected with Daniel's jaw, but when he looked, both of them bled the same. Panic surged through Ethan's chest. "What are you?" he gasped. Daniel laughed, blood trickling. "The question is, what are you?" The metallic object suddenly pulsed from Ethan's pocket, glowing brighter than ever. Daniel's eyes lit with recognition. "That's mine," he roared, lunging forward. Ethan gripped it tightly, shouting, "No, it's the only thing keeping me here." The glow spread across the mirrors, twisting their surfaces into writhing patterns. Daniel clawed at Ethan's hand, desperate. "Without it you fade," he hissed. Ethan trembled, torn between holding on and destroying it, knowing either choice could erase him. The fight reached its peak as Ethan slammed Daniel into a mirror, shards exploding outward. Reflections multiplied endlessly, Ethan and Daniel duplicated across the glass maze. Each reflection moved out of sync, some showing Ethan terrified, others showing Daniel triumphant. Ethan screamed, "I am real." His voice echoed endlessly as Daniel snarled, "Prove it." The warehouse trembled, mirrors cracking under the weight of their struggle. The metallic object pulsed violently, the light threatening to consume them both. The warehouse echoed with the sound of cracking glass as Ethan stood amid the chaos. Daniel lay sprawled across the floor, blood trickling, yet his grin remained intact. Ethan clutched the metallic object, its glow pulsing wildly. "It ends now," he growled, raising it high. Daniel's voice, weak but taunting, whispered, "Destroy it, and you'll vanish with me." Ethan's hand trembled, sweat dripping down his brow. For a moment, he couldn't tell if the reflections around him were Daniel's or his own, each one staring with different intentions. Ethan slammed the object against the floor, shattering it into shards of light. A deafening crack roared as every mirror exploded outward. The warehouse filled with a storm of reflections, each version of Ethan and Daniel screaming in silent fury. Ethan fell to his knees, covering his head as glass rained down. The light dimmed, leaving only dust and silence. Slowly he raised his eyes, expecting Daniel's smirk, but the space was empty. For the first time, Ethan thought he might have won, though his heart told him otherwise. Later, Ethan stumbled into the night, the warehouse collapsing behind him. His body shook, exhaustion heavy in his bones. He muttered, "It's over." The city lights flickered in the distance, steady and indifferent. For a fleeting moment, he felt relief. But when he passed a shop window, his reflection stared back with eyes far too calm. It raised its hand a second later than he did, smiling faintly. Ethan staggered back, whispering, "Nah, not again." The world blurred as fear reclaimed him. Detective Laura Hayes met Ethan the next day in her office. He explained everything, his words desperate. Laura listened, face unreadable. "There's no evidence," she said flatly. Ethan shouted, "He's real, I fought him." Laura leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. "Or maybe you fought yourself." Ethan froze, unable to respond. Laura's voice softened, almost pitying. "Some battles leave scars no one else can see." Ethan left, her words gnawing at him, uncertain if she was warning him or mocking his truth. That night, Ethan sat in his apartment, every mirror covered once more. He whispered to himself, "I'm real. I'm real." A faint laugh echoed through the dark, chilling his blood. Slowly, he turned toward the largest mirror, still draped in cloth. The fabric rippled, as though something moved behind it. Ethan froze, unable to breathe. The cloth slipped, revealing Daniel's reflection, smiling coldly. Daniel mouthed, "You never were." Ethan staggered back, paralyzed, as the reflection pressed its palm against the glass, waiting. The room fell silent.